Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Last week we finished Surah Abasa, inshallah. We continue with the next surah. This is the QR code for Slido.com if you want to join the Slido.com, or it's hashtag 111000. For any questions, inshallah, we'll try to take them at the end. Bismillah ta'ala. So after Surah Abasa, inshallah, we would like to move to the next surah. Surah At-Takwir. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. Jazakullahu Khairan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the surah is continuing, as we saw with the translation, with the description of the Day of Judgment. With the previous two surahs, at the end of Surah Al-Nazi'at, as well as in the end of Surah Abasa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the end of Surah Al-Nazi'at said, إِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى يَوْمَ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ مَا سَعَى, that when this huge calamity of the Day of Judgment will happen, on that day a human being will reflect about what efforts he has done. وَبُرِّزَتِ الْجَحِيمُ لِمَنْ يَرَى, the fire of Jahannam will be brought forward for everyone to see. فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, whoever crossed the limits of transgression and gave preference to the worldly life, فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى, verily the fire of Jahannam will be his abode. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ, and whoever was afraid of standing in front of his Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى, and stopped his carnal desires, his nafs from following the carnal desires, فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى, verily the hereafter is the final abode. So this is the conclusion. The Jannah is the final abode. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى, his final abode will be Jannah. This was in Surah Al-Nazi'at. Then Surah Abasa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَةُ يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ, describing the condition of the horror of the Day of Judgment, that everyone will be running away from his beloved of this dunya. Whether it's a brother, whether it's parents, whether it's children, whether it's spouse, everyone will be overcome with fear of that day. So this surah it speaks about the signs that will lead up to that day. There are 12 oaths that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes. They have been divided up. 6 are before the day of judgment strikes, and 6 after the day of judgment. 6 describing the day of judgment itself. And so these are the 12 you will see. First thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving signs that we will witness human beings on this earth as the final moments before the end of this world. When the trumpet will be blown for the first time. When the trumpet will be blown and everything will be destroyed. Starting off with إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, when the sun shall be folded up. كَوَّرَ يُكَوِّرُ التَّكْوِير means to fold up. So when something is finished and you finish using it, then you fold it up, close it up. Like the table folds up, the foldable table, foldable different things we have at home. You use them, you open it, then when the function is finished, you fold it up and put it away. So when the sun will be folded up. What is the meaning of this? Is that one of the primary functions of the sun is that it gives it's source of light, source of energy for us, for this whole planet Earth and for the solar system. So the sun itself the light will extinguish, it will be done, it will be finished. Now the astronomers, they tell us that, the sun is a medium star. Allah Ta'ala knows how long it will last. The scientists may tell us that it still has so many million years left, Wallahu A'lam. But what we do know is that stars are born, and then stars are, then they eventually die as well. So the sun will, the explosions that are taking place that is causing the sun to be a source of this energy and light, it'll one day come to a conclusion, and the sun will no longer be a source of light. إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, when the sun will be folded up. So the sun, which is such a big creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such a large creation of Allah ta'ala, such a powerful creation of Allah, source of light, source of energy, it will also come to an end, it will die. It'll become, now you want to call it a black hole, or there will be nothing left anymore for it to be a black hole and a non-black hole. Everything will be destroyed at that point. Man fis samawati wa man fil ard, everything in the heavens and earth will be destroyed. So where do we stand as small human beings? The sun is such a powerful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For centuries, human beings throughout the world have become so impressed with its power, and without the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have started worshipping the sun. It has been an object of worship by different pagans and different mushrikun from the east and the west. This beautiful creation of Allah, powerful creation of Allah ta'ala, has now come to an end as well. Number one. Number two, وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ. And remember when there will be, a time is coming when all the stars, nujum plural of najmun, they will also all fall down. Allah Ta'ala speaks about the sun being extinguished and turning off, and now all the stars are also falling down. This will collectively be mentioned towards the end, that the entire sky will be stripped of all the celestial bodies, all the heavenly bodies that adorn the sky. They will all be removed, and kushitat, just like the hide of an animal is taken off and stripped off, likewise all of the ornaments in the heavens will be taken away, the planets, the suns, the stars, and there will be nothing left. They will all fall down. These gigantic creations of Allah Ta'ala at the level of the cosmos, level of the universe. So this qiyamah is not something that's going to happen in my home or my street, your street, my neighborhood, your neighborhood, or city, or country, or town. It is a global phenomena. It is beyond a global phenomena. It is a phenomenon of the entire universe. Everything in existence is going to come to an end. Global phenomena is also such an understatement, because that's just one planet Earth is a globe. So it's much more than a global phenomena. It is a universal. Normally when you talk about universe, you're also just talking, you use this term universal this, universal that, but you're actually talking about everything in existence, the entire cosmos. Right? وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ, all the stars are falling down. As has been mentioned many times, the Meccan surahs are what? Talking about the Day of Judgment, Tawheed, Risala, Akhirah. And from a balagha perspective, from a language perspective, they're very, very powerful. A lot of imagery. Just like when we are teaching the tarjuma of Quran in the madrasa here at Dar es Salaam, there's like 3 rounds. First we do the tarjuma of the Quran where we cover the translation, 10 paras in a year, and then 10 paras, 10 paras, 10 paras, 10 juz, 10 juz, 10 juz, then cover 30 juz. Thereafter we do tafsir of Jalalain, the entire Quran, second round with tafsir of 2 Jalaluddin Suyuti and Jalaluddin Mahalli. They wrote 15 juz each. Jalalain means 2 Jalals, 2 authors. And then the third round is further in-depth tafsir of different tafsir works. So there's tafsir of the lugha through the language, like Abu Hayyan Undulusi, and tafsir from the fiqh perspective, like Al-Jami' li Ahkam al-Quran al-Qurtubi, or tafsir from ahadith like Tabari and Ibn Kathir. So you get exposure to different forms of tafsir and different genres of tafsir. So the depth is the objective, the third round, not the breadth. So we can't cover the entire Quran, but you have covered it twice by now. So this is the third time you cover select chapters. Mushkilatul Quran, those ayat of the Quran that are difficult to comprehend, etc. Or there are objections from Orientalists or non-Muslims, things like that. So what I wanted to point out is that when we're doing the 10 juz, 10 juz, 10 juz, it's an interesting pattern of where we start. You would think you can do first 10, second 10, third 10. Or you want to go reverse, you do last 10, middle 10, and first 10. But it's neither of the two. We start off with the middle 10. And then the last 10, then the first 10. The reason, after many years of experience, we came up with this is because the last 10, when you have all these Makkan surahs, as in this surah and other surahs, we just have the translation in front of us, but some of these words are actually very difficult. The vocabulary of the last 10, these short surahs, when students are doing hifz of the Quran, they memorize the short surahs first, Makkan surahs. But actually from a translation perspective, these words are less commonly used. And there's a lot of discussion in the from the lughvi perspective, from the language perspective, why is this word chosen, what's the meaning of it. Most of that is all pertaining to Arabic grammar, Arabic rhetoric, and balagha, and difficult to translate those discussions into English. But as I was looking through the tafasir, this was on my mind. How do I translate this? Okay, leave this part, leave this part. But there's a lot of discussion on the language when it comes to the Makkan surahs. So we don't start off with that. Nor do we want to start off with the first 10. Okay, last 10 are hard language-wise. First 10. First 10 are easy language-wise. Surah Baqarah, Al Imran, Nisa, Ma'idah, An'am. They're very easy language-wise. The words, the vocabulary is easy. But the issue is that they are filled with ahkam. Which ahkam? Fiqhi ahkam. Whether it's nikah, whether it's talaq, whether it's ibadat or mu'amalat. So many different rulings. Mirath, inheritance, Surah An-Nisa. And the student has still not studied fiqh, because it's just a second-year student now. So you want the student to finish studying fiqh al-ibadat, fiqh al-mu'amalat, fiqh of rulings, of injunctions pertaining to the entirety of the whole spectrum of fiqh in Quduri. In the third year, then they will be able to understand those ayat properly. Otherwise, the teacher is going to be spending most of his time in the Tarjuma Quran class explaining the fiqh behind the ayat. So you can't do the first 10 either. So that's why we start from the middle 10. If you look at it, you'll think, why in the world are you starting the middle 10? Middle 10 is easy from the lugha perspective, and you don't have so many detailed ahkam either. Like Surah Yusuf. So everyone loves Surah Yusuf. Allah Ta'ala said it's the best story of all time. Ahsan al-Qasas. Surah Yusuf is in the 12th and 13th juz, 14th juz, etc. So after doing that, then you can do difficult vocab, last 10, and you can do difficult fiqhi ahkam, first 10. So over here, the power of the Makkan surahs is in the Arabic words that Allah Ta'ala uses. They're very, very powerful words, very and impactful for the Ahlul Lugha, those who understood the Arabic language, the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba. It had a profound impact. When Allah Ta'ala is taking oath upon oath upon oath, and then it is like building up the tempo. And then all of a sudden Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes that statement, very powerful statement at the end. وَإِذَا النُّجُومٌ كَدَرَتْ. So you can see this إِذَا repeating, it's also building up the tension. إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, then وَإِذَا النُّجُومٌ كَدَرَتْ, and when the stars will begin to fall down. So the level of anxiety about what's going to happen, it's building up. The tension is building up. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ, and when the mountains themselves is number 3 now. The mountains themselves are floating, are flying. They're set in motion. They are like cotton candy, like clouds. Just like you see the beautiful big clouds, big puffy cumulus clouds, and not the stratus clouds, the cirrus clouds, the big puffy white cumulus clouds. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ, the mountains are flying in the air. Now these mountains, وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا, Allah Ta'ala said they're like pegs. They're holding down the crust, the tectonic plates from shifting and moving. And when there is a slight movement, what happened in Afghanistan this week, or there are more and more earthquakes happening all throughout the world. We know how much destruction happens. These mountains are holding things down. Now imagine that mountain which is function, the Quran says, أَوْتَادًا is a peg holding the tectonic plates from moving. That peg itself is now flying in the air. So what's the condition of the plates, the crust? The condition of the plates is mentioned somewhere else. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. They are going to have such type of earthquakes that cannot be measured on any Richter scale. It is beyond what we can ever imagine. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ, and when the mountains are now flying in the air. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ. So ishar from ashara means 10 is referring to a specific type of camel. So plural, isharu is a 10-month pregnant she-camel. It's so specific, 10-month pregnant she-camel. عُطِّلَ, عَطَّلَ يُعَطِّلُ means to abandon. عُطِّلَت is a passive form of the verb. عُطِّلَت will be abandoned, meaning the books of tafsir mention that من كرائم or أنفس أموال العرب, among the most precious, valuable commodity for the Arab was the pregnant she-camel. When 10-month pregnant she-camel is about to deliver a baby and will be a source of milk and source of everything for the Arabs. Mode of conveyance, source of meat, source of milk. So the hide of it, they would use it to make their tents. So every part of the camel they would use. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given it the ability to store reservoirs of water and fat, that it could traverse long distances in the barren desert with its own source of energy in its hump. Slowly but surely that hump would start melting away, but it's such a huge reservoir of fat. So this is something that is in the language, that what is used a lot and what has money, what is a part of one's society, part of culture, part of daily life, then there are more names for that object. So since the camel was such a part of the life of the Arab, there are many different names for camels, very specific names. And the students of fiqh, they know about this. We learn about it when it comes to zakat. So what is a hiqqa, a jiz'a, bint al-labun, bint al-makhad, all these different names. 2-year-old camel, 3-year-old camel, 4-year-old camel, everyone has a different name. And we have to learn it because this comes in fiqh. It also comes in the Quran. If you want to learn the Quran, you want to understand the tafsir of the Quran, then you have to immerse yourself in that culture, in that environment, and understand the vocabulary, what's going on. People, this is the book of hidayah and guidance for all of humanity. This is the kalam of Allah Ta'ala. People in the world nowadays who are learning a particular subject just because they have an interest in that, they go to such great lengths to learn things which I don't want to sound, be demeaning of their object of their desire, of their interest, but say if it's some particular era in ancient Chinese history, or some Mayan civilization from Central America or something of that nature, they will spend years and years doing a PhD in research. They have archaeologists going, digging the ground, learning about that culture, learning about their language. Sometimes, there's nobody in the world who can even understand the language. Then you may discover the Rosetta Stone or some stone that gives you the clue to understanding the ancient language. But people are so fascinated. They immerse themselves for years in the study of different cultures in the past. But we have not spent much time learning about the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, the era of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the level of Jahiliyyah, the level of Ba'd al-Islam as well. If you want to understand the Quran, we have to. Now, these camels, for example, we're talking about, this one here is a 10-month pregnancy camel. If we understand how valuable that was and necessary for their life and how precious it was, then only we can appreciate the fact that if this is also being abandoned. So now we have to translate that, contextualize that in our day and time, in our era, in 2025, in America. The most valuable commodity that we have, something precious of this material world, that we would hold it dear and ensure that it is under, protection and it is secure. If it is just thrown out and a person is abandoning it and has no care to pick it up, whether it's diamonds, so if there's a person is just throwing away the diamonds and running away and say, I don't care about this, I got to save myself. Imagine the level of anxiety, the level of the pressure, the fear. Sometimes, we're speaking of different camels, one other ayah that has a different type of camel comes to mind, wherein Allah Ta'ala in Surah, is talking about Hajj in Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam made the call to the people to come for Hajj, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا. Allah Ta'ala is instructing Ibrahim alayhi salam centuries before that make the proclamation and invite the people to Hajj. يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا. There will be generations and generations of people in the coming centuries who will respond to your call. They'll be saying labbaik, labbaik, and they will come. Some of them will come walking. وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ. And they will come on the dhamir camel. يَأْتُونَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. They will come from the far distant valleys. So what is the dhamir? If we just see the translation and say, oh, it's a camel. They'll come on, some people will come walking, some people will come on camels. Maybe some type of camel. Is it a particular breed of camel? It's a very unique camel. Dhamir is that camel that its hump, which is the source of the reservoir of fat, it has completely melted away, emaciated. It's a skinny camel, such that you can see its ribs. The ribs have now become visible. So what's the indication of that? It's coming from very, very far distance and traversing very difficult terrain where there is no water, no oasis, no grass, no hay. And the whole back of the camel has melted away. Allahu Akbar. وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ. They're coming on this lean, skinny camel. The hump has melted away. Why are they coming? To come to the Baytullah, right? We are just coming in our jets, sitting in wishing we were in first class, sitting, oh my God, we're just suffering here in economy class, right? With the air conditioning, and na'udhu billah, on the way going for Hajj and the way coming back from Hajj, the haram entertainment is right there in the seat in front of us. So, that's how you can appreciate what it means. Same thing over here. It's a 10-month pregnancy camel is also being abandoned. وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ. وُحُوش, with the wild beasts. حُشِرَتْ, حَشَرَ يَحْشُرُ means to gather. حُشِرَتْ, they are all gathered together. Why are they gathered together? You may have covered this, or you definitely covered it. You may remember, rather, from Surah An-Naba. What happened in Surah An-Naba at the end? Is that that the kafir, what will he wish? Ya laytani kuntu turaba. I wish I could be turned into dust. So why would the kafir wish that he would be turned into dust? Because he sees that there's, from his perspective, another very lucky creation that is being turned into dust. And when he sees that scene of people turning of different creation being turned into dust and they don't have to go to Jahannam, he will wish that could happen to him. What am I referring to? These animals. So the animals will be gathered together, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take qisas, will exact retribution between them. It comes in the hadith that if there was a wild beast that had a horn, do you recall this? Who attacked another one that did not have a horn and committed zulm on it, then they will be resurrected. And the animal that did not have a horn will be granted a horn and will be given an opportunity to get its revenge from the other one. So after all the revenge has taken place and all the scores have been settled and justice has been established, so whoever was wronged was given the opportunity to get their revenge. Then they will all be turned into dust. The animals will not go towards Jahannam, nor will they go to Jannah. The animals will be turned into dust. So at that point, when the kafir who sees that the fire of Jahannam has been drawn near, وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ, and he realizes that his book of deeds has been given in his left hand, and he's on the path towards Jahannam, يَصْلَوْنَهَا, that he must enter, and there's no way out of it. There's no escape route. So he will wish that he would be turned into dust, just like the animals are. So this is وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, when the animals and the beasts are gathered together. So they are also in the mahshar, but their hashar is the last day. It doesn't continue after that. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, and when the seas themselves will be flared open. Subhanallah. Sujjira means to light, ablaze. So this will be such an explosion. The H2O, right? So there are 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. H2O makes the water. So this is when Allah Ta'ala will create this reaction in the water will split, and thereafter there will be a detonation and it will be an explosion. So I was just looking up the science behind this. The combustion, what happens, the hydrogen and the oxygen rapidly recombine after a split to form water vapor, releasing a significant amount of energy almost instantaneously. This exothermic reaction generates immense pressure and heat, producing an explosion. SubhanAllah. This rapid combustion can transition into a detonation, with the flame propagating at supersonic speeds and generating shock waves. This could be very violent and damaging, the resulting explosion. The 2-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is perfectly balanced for a complete and rapid combustion reaction, making it an extremely powerful, explosive mixture. Right? So first the electrolysis happens where, like when it's done in the science lab in school, if you remember, the electrical current is passed through the water, it breaks the chemical bonds, separating the molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Thereafter, when they come back together, it creates this huge reaction. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, when the seas will be flared up. So this is how we understand it. In the past, there were so many different explanations the books of tafsir have about. I mean, it is, some things are intuitive, some things are counterintuitive, some things are badihi, make sense right away, some things you have to think about it. If you were 1400 years ago looking at this ayah, bihar, oceans, sujjirat. Sujjira means to light, ablaze. So wait a second, we use water to extinguish fire. So how are the oceans ablaze? So this was something really difficult for them to wrap their heads around. So there are different theories that are out there in the past. One of them was that, look, if you go back, is that so I'm going forward here actually. إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ, when the stars are falling down. So perhaps the stars, the sun, they will fall down into the ocean, and the ocean will turn into a blaze, etc., etc. But now, this very simple explanation through modern science we can understand. Wallahu a'lam. At the end we always say Wallahu a'lam. But the seas themselves will be set ablaze. Sujjirat will be set ablaze. The oceans. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. Nafsun, nufus, the souls. Zuwijat, they are arranged into categories. So what happens is that in this dunya, we are all mixed together. Sometimes when we see the conditions of the people of the past, we will say that, subhanAllah, so-and-so used to make khatam of the Quran every 7 nights, majority of the Sahaba and the Tabi'un and Salaf. Some every 5 nights, some every 3 nights. Some would recite the entire Quran in 1 night. Uthman ibn Affan would recite, radiyallahu anhu, the entire Quran in 1 rak'ah. And Abdullah bin Zubair in 1 night. They would be reciting so much Quran. And sometimes we come across scenarios where they would be reciting 1 ayah the entire night. So they're reciting 114 surahs, or they're stuck on 1 ayah. 30 juz, 6,000 odd ayat, or just 1 ayah. Why? What's going on? This fluctuation is fluctuation based on the spiritual condition at that time. Sometimes when they're in such a hal, in such a spiritual state where, of deep contemplation, tadabbur and tafakkur, then they would just stop at 1 ayah and keep on repeating it the entire night. And sometimes when they're not going so deep, but they're at a faster level, where they're just comprehending things and they're focusing at a faster level, they'll be able to go with the volume, cover more ayah. So there is 1 ayah that comes, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, for example, himself, just take himself. In Ramadan, it is recorded, well known through many chains, that he would recite 61 khatams. 61 khatams in Ramadan. 1 khatam every day, 1 khatam every night, and 1 in Taraweeh. 30 in the days, 30 days, 30 nights, and then 1 in Taraweeh. That's why the odd number 61. Otherwise, you may think, what's so unique about 61? Why 61? It's because 1 a day, 1 a night, and 1 in Taraweeh. So that's one practice. Now the same person in a different spiritual state, one time he spent the entire night repeating just 1 ayah from Surah Yasin. And it's not a long ayah, like 4 words. وَامْتَازُ الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. وَامْتَازُ is a command from Allah Ta'ala. Separate. This is, it comes back directly to this ayah. I'm not going too far in a tangent. Back. وَامْتَازُ is imtiyaz, is to be separate, to be unique. Imtiyaz is something that, if everyone is average and there's something that is extraordinary, special, unique, there's an imtiyaz. So wamtazu, separate yourself. It's a command, fi'l amr, imperative verb. Wamtazu al-yawm is the second word, 4 words. Separate yourself is a command from Allah Ta'ala. Al-yawm, today, on the day of judgment. Ayyuhal, O mujrimun, sinners. Separate yourself today, O sinners. So what's the point of reflection from his perspective as an imam? His perspective as an imam was, he was making muhasabah of himself, and he's saying that in the dunya, I could possibly be that wolf in the sheep clothing, right? Or sheep's clothing as in possessive, not the plural one, sheep's clothing. Yeah, so you have, meaning everyone, they are true students of knowledge, true mashayikh, true ulama, true sulaha, true righteous people, and I'm actually a mujrim hidden amongst them. I'm the wolf amongst the sheep. And because everyone around me is so righteous, they're all musalli, they're all ulama, they're all imams of fiqh and righteous people, and I'm with them, so everyone thinks I'm also righteous, and everyone's fooled. And who's the biggest fool? I'm the biggest fool. I started thinking I'm also righteous. But when this command comes, that in the dunya you're all mixed together, no one really knows what's going on. But when the command comes, وَامْتَازُ الْيَوْمِ, get out, come out, separate yourself. أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ, oh the mujrimun, you are hiding with the salihun. Incognito, in disguise. Now is the time of separation. Right? As is mentioned in one of his famous poems himself, he spoke about the same topic from I wouldn't even say a different perspective, same perspective actually, but different form of expressing himself, because this is his own poem. He said that أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُنِي صَلَحًا. أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ, I truly, truly from the bottom of my heart love the righteous ones, the salihin. وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ, even though I myself am not one of them. Right? The one who performed the fajr with the wudu of Isha for 40 years, right? He says, أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ. The one mother was telling her child that, make way, the Shaykh is going, he prays his Fajr with the wudu of Isha. Then after that he made tawbah and he said that this lady has so much husn al-dhan about me, I should actually start doing that. So he continued that practice. He said, أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ. I love the righteous ones. وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ. Even though I myself am not one of them. لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُنِي صَلَاحًا. I hope and I pray that by virtue of this love I have for the righteous ones, Allah may also give me some righteousness. Because I love the pious ones, perhaps by virtue of this love, Allah may grant me some piety. Subhanallah. So, وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. There's so many times when you study things, when you read things, the explanation is not given there. And we hear it too sometimes, and then it goes in one ear, out the other ear. And what's actually happening, we miss the main point. Like if you read a biography of Abu Hanifa, you may come across this, you may not. But if you do, it just says that, oh, he spent the entire night reading the surah. Now, what was he actually thinking is not explicitly mentioned. But this is the suhbah of the ustaz and the shaykh and the teacher over the years. They teach us that, and then they explain, okay, this is what's going on here. The ayah just says, وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. Oh, those who are the sinners, separate yourself. So, okay, I get it. What's the point here? The point is, he is telling himself that, hey, if you're considered pious by people and you're hanging out with pious people, you don't know, just by virtue of hanging out with them, it doesn't mean you're pious. Maybe you're not so pious. But at that day, everything will be separated. Imtiyaz will happen. So this is, وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. The people will be arranged in categories. This زُوِّجَتْ is also in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا. The three groups. فَأَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ and أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ and وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. So you have the people who will get the book of deeds in the right hand, is one category, azwajan thalas, one in the left hand. Then those who are far ahead of everyone, sabiqun sabiqun. That group of sabiqun sabiqun, they are thullatun min al-awwalin and qalilun min al-akhirin. Good number from the previous generations, very few from the later generations, from our times. Because we are definitely in the pre-Dajjali times. So qalil, there are very few sabiqun around. Allah Ta'ala said so. And we are definitely in the pre-Dajjali era, because if there is a chronological list of the signs of the Day of Judgment, then you have one minor sign, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 plus minor signs. And if you place them in a chronological order, then you come to a point where every single minor sign has now appeared. The scholars have unanimous that all the alamat sughra have appeared. So the next thing on the line is now beginning of alamat kubra, the major signs of khuruj of Dajjal, Mahdi, the final battles, and then after that, the remaining final signs of Dabba, khuruj of Dabba, the beast, and the Yajuj, Majuj, and the rising of the sun from the west, going halfway and then setting back in the west. So after that, the tawbah will not be accepted. So we are right at the pre-Dajjali time. قَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. Very few are going to be from the Sabiqun. So we have to ask Allah Ta'ala, oh Allah, make us among the Sabiqun. Don't just say, oh Allah, make me from Ashab al-Maymanah, ma Ashab al-Maymanah. That's good enough. No, we should always aim high. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابِ. Oh Allah, you are the great giver. Not that we deserve it. We don't ask based on what we have done, based on our accomplishments, but based on whom we are asking. Looking at Him as the greatest giver, we should still ask. But we should be aware of the odds too. And the point of knowing how few they are and how difficult it is to inspire us to work harder, not to give up hope. Right? But to work harder, to realize that it's only few who are going to make it into the Sabiqun category. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. So these are the categories. So in the dunya, everyone is together. And sometimes, people wonder, like when this earthquake happens, when a calamity happens, when a natural disaster happens, the good and the bad, everyone suffers the same. ثُمَّ تُبْعَثُوا عَلَى نِيَّاتِهِمْ. Then on the Day of Judgment, they'll be resurrected based on their niyat, based on their intentions. Based on the niyat, this comes based on a longer hadith about an army that will be coming تغزو الكعبة, to attack the Kaaba. And يُخْسَفُ بِأَوَّلِهِمْ وَآخِرِهِمْ, from the front line to the back, everybody, the entire earth will open up and swallow them whole. So then it was asked, Ya Rasulullah, what about other people who happen to be around? There's always some people who happen to be around. Like in this gathering, inshallah, it's not the case, everyone's here intentionally. But in general, there are gatherings of dhikr as well. When, that's a long hadith we covered a few nights in the beginning. The first night when I started substituting, I covered that long hadith. You can go back, episode 1, of Surah Al-Nazi'at. There's long hadith, but one part of it I'll quote is that when the angels go back to Allah Ta'ala and He report what is happening, and then Allah Ta'ala says that, what are they asking? They're seeking Jannah. What are they seeking refuge from? They're seeking refuge from Jahannam. Then Allah Ta'ala says that, be witness that I have granted them what they seek, and I have granted them refuge from what they seek refuge from. Then the angel will ask, but there were some other people that they were going out with their friend, and their friend said, hey, I'm stopping by for tafsir. And he's like, why am I stuck here? Or somebody came to distribute his cards to get some clients, to market his own company, for networking, for, I want to sit through this whole tafsir to make an impression on somebody because I proposed to so-and-so's daughter, he's there, and he'll think, oh, I'm a good young man. MashaAllah, a lot of young men sitting here. So whatever the intention is, Ya Rasulullah, what about those other people? So what did Allah Ta'ala say? Humul qawmu la yashqa bihim jalisuhum. This qawm is so mubarak, so blessed. Whoever happens to be jalis, hamnashi, meaning he sat for a little while with them. La yashqa bihim jalisuhum. The one who just sat with them, jalasa means to sit. Jalis is the one who sits next to you, sits on the same bench with you. He is also not going to be deprived. Subhanallah. So this happens on the positive side. Now, it could have been the other way, that humul qawmu, this qawm is so bad, who are trying to attack the Kaaba. If somebody was there just selling food, because when an army has logistical needs, they need supplies too. So there are merchants who are just there to just sell their food, sell products to the army to make buck. Humul qawmu, this qawm is so bad, yashqa bihim jalisuhum. Instead of la yashqa, you just say yashqa. That whoever is with them, they're also badbakh, they're shaqi, they're also wretched. Because qawm is so wretched. No, it doesn't work that way. The khair spreads, but the shar, Allah Ta'ala will not spread it to other people. In fact, for this qawm, the adhab, when it comes in the dunya, everybody will suffer. But in the akhirah, when it was asked, what about those people who never came with the intention to attack the Kaaba? They just happened to be around. Then the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, تُبَعَثُوا عَلَى نِيَاتٍ. Then they will be raised, resurrected based on their niyyah. Hey, I wasn't there. I didn't come there with the intention of attacking. I was there just selling some food. I just put up a stall because these soldiers were buying from me. I just wanted to earn some livelihood from my family. Okay, you will be saved from the adhab. So, in the dunya, everyone is treated together, good times or bad times. And it's very simple, because this dunya is darul ibtila, place of an exam. And akhirah is darul jaza, place of the result. Now, if there would be a calamity that comes and every person who's performing salah 5 times a day, his home is saved. And those who are performing 3 times of salah, their homes are slightly damaged. And those who are performing no salah, their homes are destroyed. That's the type of hurricane, very smart hurricane. All right? A very smart tornado or earthquake. It knows which house to strike and which house to leave. Why can't that happen? Because of a very simple reason. That would be the jaza. The result would be clear. And the test is not going to remain. The test is Alif Lam Mim Dhalika al-Kitabu la rayba fihi hudal lil muttaqin. This book, there is no doubt in it, source of guidance for those who have taqwa. Alladhina yu'minuna bil mushahada or alladhina yu'minuna bil ghayb. Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghayb. Those who believe in the unseen. Why do they believe in the unseen? Because they believe in the trustworthiness of the mukhbir as-sadiqul amin, the trustworthy, truthful narrator. For him, it wasn't unseen, it was seen. He saw it, then he came and he told us what he saw. It's simple as that. And that is why from the seerah class, when we were children, we passed over this chapter, and how profound that example was, perhaps we did not appreciate as a young child, but it is so profound. that vantage position of standing on top of the mountain, when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked them and they testify, and he says that I am telling you from my position here, if I were to tell you that on this side of the mountain I see an army about to attack, everyone knows the story. But just think about it for a moment. Would you believe me? And they said, you are anta sadiqul ameen. قَدْ لَبِسْتُ فِيكُمْ عُمَرًا مِّن قَبْلِي. You have lived your whole life amongst us. You have never lied. Of course, you are standing in a position you can see on that side, and we cannot see. And you are telling us that there is an army. Why would we not believe you? Because you are saying this. You are nasihun and ameen. You are trustworthy and you love us. You're not trying to trick us. There's no way we would not believe you. Confirmed you're going to believe me? Yes, we will believe you, they said, all together. He said, أَنَا نَذِيرٌ لَكُمْ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ عَذَابٍ شَدِيدٍ. Likewise, I'm warning you, there is an adhab coming, unless you say, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُوا. If you say, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ, you'll be successful. What a beautiful teacher. The best teacher ever. Such a demonstration. Such an experiment that they weren't just doing or observing, they were part of it. They were literally part of the whole experiment. Experiential knowledge. Haqiqat. Haqqul yaqeen. Like, he can see on the other side, you just said you're going to believe him. Then now I'm telling you, why don't you believe me anymore? Allahu Akbar. So what will happen? The test is iman bil ghaib. Now what's going to happen is that if you have an adhab, and everyone will see the result. Oh my God, I really got to pray. Because if those who pray, their houses are saved. Those who don't, their houses are destroyed. So the result comes out. The result does not come out in the examination hall. The result comes out after the exam is over. So in the dunya, everyone, that's what Allah Ta'ala says, everyone will be treated similarly. وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً. Beware of such a calamity that will befall you. لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. It will not afflict only the zalimeen. It will afflict everyone. But then on the day of judgment, وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. Everybody will be separated. Now, not just أصحاب الميمنة, أصحاب المشأمة, and سابقون, but further categories. Within the good people, for example, the Anbiya, whole category of Jama'ah, Anbiya, Rusul, then Hawariyin, Ashab, then Mashayikh, the awliya Allah, Du'at, those who are Muballighun, who did da'wah, those who are ulama, those who are munfiqun, spent in the path of Allah, those who did silatul raham, who were kind to the relatives, different categories of good deeds. In ibadat, in muamalat, in muashara, those who excelled, categories. And likewise on the sinful side, those who were obscene, those who were in zina, those who were in khamar, drinking alcohol, those who were in shirk, those who were in nifaq, hypocrites. So different sins, different categories. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. And zuwijat also means to be attached like a zawj, husband and wife are partners. So one other translation of this is وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ, when the nafs and the souls, they will be paired once again with the bodies. Because the separation of the soul from the body was death, then this soul will be given another body on the Day of Judgment. And that will be the body that will enjoy the blessings of Jannah or the torture of Jahannam. This body has been completely destroyed and is gone. There will be another body. That body is known as Jasad Mithali. That body will enjoy the Jannah or will feel the torture of Jahannam. So when the souls will be joined again, Zuwijat, with the bodies. That's translation is done here, but it's in the tafsir books. Another translation of this ayah. We talked about the categories. That's one translation. Completely different translation is that when the souls will be paired together once again with bodies. So for example, that eye that will see Allah Ta'ala is part of that body, not this worldly body. Like Allah Ta'ala, what did He tell Musa alayhi salam when Musa alayhi salam was speaking to Allah, and by speaking to Allah Ta'ala, he had now the desire to see Allah. Rabbi arini anzur ilayk. I would love to see you. قال لن تراني, you cannot see me with the worldly eye. ولكن انظر إلى الجبل, look at the mountain, فإن استقر مكانه فسوف تراني. I will make a slight reflection of a reflection of a reflection, the tajalli of a tajalli on the mountain. And what happens is that if he can withstand that, you can see me. فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ When the tajalli of Allah, reflection of Allah came on the mountain completely was destroyed. خَرَّ مُوسَى صَعِقًا Musa fell down unconscious. And فَلَمَّا أَفَاقَ when he regained consciousness, he said, "Oh Allah, tubutu ilayk, I make tawbah and I understand." Allah Ta'ala said, "Lan tarani, you cannot see me." With the worldly eye. But on the Day of Judgment, with that body, there will be another eye. And that eye will be much more powerful than this eye. That eye, Allah Ta'ala said, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ The faces will be radiant, the eyes will be looking at Allah. So that eye, that's a body, and this is also a body. This eye cannot see, that eye can see Allah. This skin, if you burn it, it goes away. Just to match it with the Jahannam side, because that's Allah's style. Targhib and tarhib. So when you talk about a body, we talk about the eye can see Allah, but also the skin. That skin is different from this skin, because this skin, it has all the pain sensors in it, and then it senses the pain and the nerves take it back to the brain, and the brain, it will register as pain. Allahu Akbar. So before we knew about the pain sensors are in the skin, before we studied the anatomy, before we studied the physiology of this and the system of the brain, Allah Ta'ala had already mentioned in the Quran, كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُم Whenever their skins are going to burn up in the Jahannam, بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودًا غَيْرَهَا We will replace that skin with other skins, new skin, continual replacement of the skin. Why is the skin being replaced? It's not left to the mufassirun or the scientists or the masters in anatomy and physiology, but rather Allah Ta'ala Himself explained it with a lam of ta'leel. Lam of ta'leel means explains why. Why are the skin being replaced? Li yadhuqul azaba. So they can taste the torment. Li yadhuqu dhawq of azab. So that skin is different from this skin, that eye is different from this eye. So there will be another body, but the soul will be the same. Literally, your soul today, my soul today, this is the same soul, inshallah. I don't want to mention both options here. This is the same soul will go in Jannah. And it's mind-boggling if you think about it, is that whenever we think about eternal, never-ending, everlasting being, and as soon as we say everlasting being, what's the first connotation comes in our mind? It's Allah. It should be. But Allah Ta'ala is azali and abadi. He's the first without a beginning, He's the last without an ending. We definitely had a beginning. So that's where we're different from Allah Ta'ala. We are a makhluk creation of Allah Ta'ala on the beginning side. But we actually are eternal as well in the sense of our soul. Our time in this world is temporary, but this ruh is never going to end. It's a very... it's not, I would not say it's a humbling thought, it's a very scary thought, and it's profound if you think about it, that our existence, once we are created by Allah Ta'ala, we have a definite beginning. We are mumkinul wujud, meaning there was a time when our ruh did not exist. Allah created it in the alam al-arwah. Then but once the ruh is created, it never dies. The ruh will continue, because either, in general, I'm talking about all the arwah, is going to be either in Jannah or Jahannam. And when a person enters Jannah or Jahannam, what's the status in the Quran? خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا Abadi, Khalid is eternal. Khulud, eternity. So the soul will always be there. And that's the reason they're going to wish, Ya laytani kuntu turab, I wish I could die, like the animals. So now the souls are paired with the bodies. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ وُجِّرَتْ وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ وَأَدَى يَأْدُ وَأْدًا means to bury, alive. When the girl child that was buried alive, girl child, because of the ta, it becomes a girl. Otherwise, maw'udu would be a boy child, girl child, that was buried alive. All of this. The girl child that was buried alive. 7 words is just al-maw'uda in Arabic. 1 to 7. That's why when you look at these, some of these books that we have in Arabic in the library, this is 66 volumes, 70 volumes, 80 volumes. If we say that, hey, if you translate this would probably be like 300 volumes, people think, yeah, that's nice drama, exaggeration. Look at this, 7 words for just one word, 7-to-1 ratio here. It's not always 7-to-1, but here it is. Al-Ma'uda is the girl child that was buried alive. Al-Ma'uda. When she will be asked, what is she going to be asked? She's going to be asked, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ? What crime did you commit that you were killed? So this seems like out of nowhere. Why are we zeroing in on this one girl? That's the whole point. We're talking about issues at the cosmos, and the heavens are being split, and the sun is, been shut off. With إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ. The function of the sun is coming to an end. The stars are falling down. The mountain, وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ, so mountains are flying. Pregnant she-camels are being abandoned. 10-month ones too, imagine. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ اُعْطِرَتْ وَحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ. Animals, beasts are being gathered. Then they're going to have their justice, and then they're going to be turned into dust. And in all of these epic scenes that are being described, Allah Ta'ala is saying that this is equally such a major crime. How dare you bury a girl that was given to you by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? We know the background of this. That the Arab, Jahili Arab, they were, the rights of women. If you want to appreciate how much Allah Ta'ala has blessed women through Islam, one of the, most effective things in marketing is the before and after, right? It's not just weight loss. You think of weight loss, like they have the before weight loss product and then after weight loss. But beyond that also, anything. This is, before you buy a product, this is how your life would have been. And now after you buy a product, this is how beautiful your life is. So if you want to understand and appreciate how much Islam has done for women, we just have to quickly do a cursory study of what was the position of Islam, what was the position of women before Islam. So they were treated as property. When a man would die, his wives would be inherited by the son. The son would inherit his stepmothers, besides the biological mother, all the other women. Because it was not limited to 4, it could be 10, 15, 20 women. Just like he would inherit his his father's cattle, his father's cows, they had more like goats and sheep and camels. Likewise, he would inherit the woman. That's why Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ أَبَاؤُكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفْ. Do not marry women that your father has married, except for that which is past, because they were doing it. And etc., etc. One of the crimes was that if a woman would be born, they would say that this is a sign of disgrace and humiliation. Allah Ta'ala gives the description in the Quran. وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدُهُمْ بِالْأُنْثَى. When one of them is given a glad tidings about the birth of the daughter, ظَلَّ وَجْهُهُ مُسْوَدًّا. His face turns black with anger, وَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ, and he's holding it in. يَتَوَارَى مِنَ الْقَوْمِ. He's hiding from the people because he's so embarrassed to come in front of them. مِنْ سُوءِ مَا بُشِّرَ بِهِ, because of the bad news that I have a daughter. Now he's contemplating 2 choices. أَيُمْسِكُهُ عَلَى هُونٍ. Should I keep her alive and bear the humiliation of having a daughter? أَمْ يَدُسُّهُ فِي التُّرَابِ. Or should I just get rid of her by burying her in the sands? أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. Evil indeed is their judgment. And again, before and after comparison, just like we wanted to see about the condition of women before Islam and after Islam, the women who were property can now own property in Islam. And if she's a girl, raising a girl, doing tarbiyah of a girl, is a person will be kana ma'i fil jannah, will be raised with me in Jannah like the 2 fingers. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about the forefinger and the middle finger, how close they are. And if she's your wife, then خياركم خياركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي. The best amongst you are those who are best to their wives, and I'm best to my wife. And if she becomes a mother, then جنة تحت أقدام الأمهات. Jannah is under the feet of the mother. Every stage of life, right? So they were burying. There's just like we see the before and after regarding women, before and after also of Sahaba. They were killing one another, so they were so barbaric, and then after that, how they became, subhanallah. وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ. You were on the edge of the pit of the fire of Jahannam, ready to go into it. You were killing one another. فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا. Allah saved you. And فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. You became not like brothers, you became brothers. Muhajirun and Ansar became brothers. And the Sahaba, they were ready to die for each other. They were ready to kill each other for the most minutest things. Now they're ready to die for one another. So the transformation is so amazing. And we see the transformative power of the deen of Allah Ta'ala, of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Sahaba as well, there are stories of some of them, that prior to Islam, they committed this crime as well. And not only, like one time one of the Sahabi, later he became a Sahabi, and he cried, he made tawbah, and al-Islamu yahdimu ma kana qablahu. Islam becomes a means of forgiveness of the sins prior to Islam. But when he was on a journey, his wife was hiding her pregnancy, and then when the baby was delivered, she said that this is from her family, like her sister, and this is my niece, not my daughter, not our daughter, my niece. And he used to play with the daughter, not knowing it's his own daughter, he was playing with her, and she loved him, and she would come and play in his lap, and they developed a bond. After a few years, when now she's 4 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, something of that nature, when the mother saw that, okay, the father, who's been the biological father all along, has developed a strong relationship with this girl, he loves her and she loves him. Let me actually mention the reality today, what it is. That this is our daughter, my daughter and your daughter, not my niece. When he found out, that's it. He took her out, and he describes the whole thing in horrific detail. It's very, extremely tragic. That when he started digging the grave, this girl is now talking to him and saying that, why are you tiring yourself, exerting yourself? She's trying to wipe the sweat off his forehead and trying to bring water for him. While the entire time, what is he doing? Digging her grave. And then he just throws in there, and she's crying, and he continues putting the sand on her till he suffocates her to death. Allah. So this was the level of barbaric jahala. That's why it's called the era of jahala. So there's 3 reasons I wanted to share with you why this question is here. First reason, I already shared it, is that Allah Ta'ala is showing that this is a crime of epic proportions. Just like the rest of the things are happening in the entire universe, this is equally such a huge crime. Number 1. Number 2, second reason why it's mentioned is because this is to add, somebody will say that, wait a second, why are you asking the victim? You should ask the aggressor. Why did you commit this crime? The question is typically asked from the criminal, why did you commit this crime? If somebody came and stole from your house, and you are the victim, and would you catch the victim and say, hey, why was your property stolen? Right? Why was your car hijacked? And why was your children abducted? Are you going to ask the victim? Or are you going to ask the criminal? You're going to ask the hijacker, you're going to ask the robber, you're going to ask the murderer. So, over here, the reason the victim is being asked is to further shame the aggressor. And an example of this is Isa alayhi salam. Isa alayhi salam, yes, Isa alayhi salam. How Isa alayhi salam is that the crime of doing shirk and making him the son of God or making him God, he is completely bari of that. He has nothing to do with that. He's blameless. Just like this girl is blameless. But to further bring shame upon those who committed the act of shirk with Isa alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala, of course, He's going to ask them, why did you commit shirk? But He also asks Isa alayhi salam, the victim. He says, remember when Allah Ta'ala is going to ask Isa alayhi salam, Ya Isa ibn Maryam, أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ, did you tell the people, اتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّيَ إِلَهِينِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, to make me and my mother Mary, because the Roman Catholics, they worship Mary too, to make me and my mother Maryam ilahini as God besides Allah. So Allah Ta'ala is asking Isa alayhi salam, did you tell the people to worship you? And this is going to be further evidence against those who started worshiping him. قَالَ سُبْحَانَكَ, he will say, Subhanallah, O Allah, you are pure. مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أَقُولَ مَا لَيْسَ لِي بِحَقٍّ, how dare I say something I have no right to say that? إِن كُنْتُ قُلْتُهُ فَقَدْ عَلِمْتَهُ, if I had said it, you had complete knowledge that I said it. تعلم ما في نفسي. You know everything that's even in my heart. ولا أعلم ما في نفسك إنك أنت علام الغيوب. I don't know. You are thinking, oh Allah, you are the one who has a complete knowledge of the unseen. ما قلت لهم إلا ما أمرتني به. The only thing I told them is what you commanded me to say. What did I tell them? أن اعبدوا الله, worship Allah. ربي ربكم, who is my Lord and your Lord. وكنت عليهم شهيدا ما دمت فيهم. I'm testifying that as long as I was alive, I never said anything else than this, nothing other than this message. And they never started worshiping me in my face. I would not allow it. I did not allow it. It never happened. وَكُنْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا مَا دُمْتُ فَلَمَّا تَوَفَّيْتَنِي, when you took me back, then you are أَنْتَ الرَّقِيبَ عَلَيْهِمْ. You are watching over what happened afterwards. Because you are عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيد. You are witnessing everything. Now you have two options. إِن تُعَذِّبْهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ عِبَادُكَ. If you want to give them adab, they are your slaves, you have the right to do so. وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ, and if you want to forgive them, then you are Azizul Hakim, you have all power, you can do whatever you want. So Allah Ta'ala is asking Isa alayhi salam, oh, did you, what happened? Why are they worshipping you? Likewise, Allah Ta'ala is asking the girl, what crime did you commit? And she wouldn't say, oh Allah, I didn't do anything. This is going to become further evidence against the criminal. That's one explanation. Third and final explanation is that this is the Yawmuddin, and there's Malik Yawmuddin, master of the Day of Judgment. So what happens on the Day of Judgment? What happens in a court? How do you get justice in a court, or at least try to get justice in a court? Is that you have a plaintiff, Mudda'i, and then you have a defendant, the Mudda'ali. The Mudda'i comes and he lodges a complaint and he says to the court that this person did this crime. If you don't have a plaintiff, if there's a crime that happens without a plaintiff, without a Mudda'i, then justice can never be served because the court doesn't even know about the existence of the crime. Right? You have to have somebody bringing the case. If it's a criminal case, it would be the police force, the district attorney, or if it's a civil case, amongst one another, you bring the case, right? But somebody has to bring the case. If no one's going to bring the case, then you cannot get justice, yes or no? All right. So what happens is, in Yawmuddin, there will be people bringing cases against one another. But when you have a minor, who's his guardian, who's the steward of the minor? The father. He's the wali. If the father, in secretly, when the delivery happens, he is taking the girl, the wali, the one who is supposed to defend the girl all the way until the responsibility of marrying her off, he's the criminal here. He's the one who himself is bearing the girl. So who's going to bring the case? Who's going to bring the case for the girl and say, how dare you kill this girl? The one who was supposed to defend her is the criminal himself. So that's why Allah Ta'ala is saying that those cases in which the plaintiff himself is a criminal, there's nobody for that mazloom, nobody to speak on behalf of that mazloom. Allah Ta'ala will take care of those cases as well. Because He's the Malik Yawmuddin, He's the master of the Day of Judgment. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ. Even that girl whose caretaker, whose guardian was the oppressor and the criminal, she will also be asked, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. What crime did you commit? SubhanAllah. وَإِذَا السُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. And then when the scrolls of deeds will be unrolled. Unrolled. What's the key thing here? Is that they're rolled and then they're unrolled. When is it rolling, unrolling? What's going on? Basically, when a person becomes baligh, when a person is born, the book of deeds on the right-hand side, it's unrolled. Start. And the angels start writing. And the book of deeds on the sin side, it's still closed. Then when he becomes baligh, it's unrolled. Now he starts writing. Right? When a person accepts Islam, it wipes everything out, etc., etc. There's so many different scenarios that I'm going to keep on going through them. But the key thing is, when a person dies, then they are rolled up. Because the person, except with a few exceptions, of sadaqatun jariyah, waladun salihun, righteous children, ilmun yuntafa'u bi, knowledge that you have spread, right? Those good deeds will come. Otherwise, the major source of the good deeds is a person himself. وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. You only have to credit what you have done. Now what happens is, your book of deeds are now closed because the time for making amal is now come to an end. So they're closed. وَإِذَا السُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. Now the scrolls of deeds are unrolled Because now is the time to look into the contents of those. What's going on? Let's check the reports. Let's see what we have here. Good deeds, bad deeds, what's going on? That's why they are now being unrolled. Because they had been rolled at the time of death. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. And when the sky will be stripped away, we talked about the celestial bodies, the sun, the planets, the skies, the stars. They are now stripped away from the sun, from the sky. وَإِذَا الْجُحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ. I think the time is now ending, so I'm going to go a bit faster. وَإِذَا الْجُحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ. When the hellfire is now set ablaze. وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. Not far away, it's brought very near. When the paradise will be brought near. So all of this is happening. It's like the crescendo is increasing, the tension is increasing, the suspense is going up. 6 before and 6 on the day of judgment, 12 things. The Shamsu Kubirat before, with the Nujum, the stars, the mountains, the pregnant she camels were abandoned, and the animals, and Bihar. We talked about the explosion, and we talked about 2 different meanings of this ayah. Mawudat Su'ilat 8, right? And then, وَإِذَا السُّحْفُ نُشِرَتْ سَمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ جَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ and Jannatu uzlifat. When all of these are happening, then what's going to happen? This is all إِذَا. Like, I don't know, like إِذَا أَتَيْتَ بَيْتِي. When you come to my home, then what? أُطْعِمُكَ. I will feed you. Right? إِذَا, or something simpler. Someone loves, someone else, he says, okay, why don't you eat? No, you eat. إِذَا أَكَلْتَ. When you eat, أَكَلْتُ. Then I will eat. Simple sentence. So same thing. This is all إِذَا. So you can't just stop with the إِذَا. You have to have something after. إِذَا أَكَلْتَ. When you eat, then what? Then I will laugh, or I will clean up your dishes, or I'll be happy, or I will eat. You have to have something. So إِذَا. When all of these 12 things happen, then what? This is the jawab. This is what's going to happen. عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ. Then everyone will know, what have you sent forward? Pata chalega, right? That's when you will realize. Right? After that, one of our teachers used to say a very simple thing. Sometimes when they say Urdu poetry is so hard, you don't understand what's going on, you need a dictionary. This is very simple. He used to say that, jaise karni vase bharni, na mane to karke dekh, jannat bhi hai, dozakh bhi hai, na mane to marke dekh. So, after a person dies, it'll become very, very apparent what he has put forward. What have you done? وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدْ. Everyone prepare what you have, get ready to see what you have prepared for tomorrow, what you're ready to put forward. Thereafter, further qasams begin. I was planning to finish the surah. I'm not sure how we ended up going so slow. But alhamdulillah, we got up to this point. Let us not lose sight of the actual feeling that we should have in our hearts when we have been covering those ayat. At the end, Allah Ta'ala is saying, everyone will know what he or she has put forward. عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ. كَيَا حَزِرْ كِيَا. What have you presented on that day? What have you brought forth? So every second in our life that is passing is never going to come back. And we still have an opportunity the rest of our life to prepare for this day before the day comes, and then it'll be too late. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to prepare for the day of judgment and to increase our yaqeen that this day is definitely coming. There's no doubt in it. It is coming near for us every second. Every breath we are inhaling and exhaling cannot come back. We have anfas ma'duda. We have a few counted number, measured breaths in this world. And every second, that number is decreasing. So let us prepare for this day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and you and all of us tawfiq wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah.